upon the next Paripreksh, or the perspective exchange. The topic being different models that are being implemented to overcome learning crisis. I'd like to call upon stage the moderator, Mr. Pranay Oswal, ECA Territory Head PCMC and the founder of iCube. Welcome. He will be taking forward his discussion with Sumita, Malik, Head Early Years Shiv Nader Schools, Dr. Abirami, Vivek, Counselling Psychologist, Founder, Magnet Minds, Vindi, Pujari, Educationist and Motivational Speaker, and Founder Director of Nerva Education. And lastly, Dr. Seema Negi, Director Principal, Sanjeevani World School and an APER Territory Head for Mumbai. Thank you.
Good morning.
I'm sure all of you had a wonderful sleep because I think we all had a lovely evening last night. Yes? Great. Honorable members of Early Childhood Association of India, members of the Core Committee, members of the Association for Primary Education and Research, and my wonderful panelists sitting over here. Once again, a very good morning. But I think before we move forward and actually begin this session, let us also take a moment and also give a big round of applause for the new education policy, because after 34 years, it was Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, Krishna Swami Kasturi Rangan, who came up with this wonderful policy on July 29th, 2020. And I'm sure that everything which we had since the last 34 years, and now we are stepping into the 37th year. So yes, let's give a huge round of applause that we are stepping into this new policy and coming up and working wonderful on this new topic. And the topic which we have for today, we'll try to keep it more of a conversation, because most of you all are principal, you all are leaders of knowledge, you all understand epistemology really well. And the reason why I want to keep it more of a conversation is because sometimes you all know certain things, sometimes you all are already aware about a lot of things, and sometimes you all are just not interested. So there's too much of information diarrhea at times when we all go through, and I think thanks to the pandemic, the amount of information, discussions, the amount of forums that we were all part of, I think that has been enormous. We'll begin with a wonderful quote, and it's a beautiful quote by Confucius. He says, "By three methods we may all learn. First, by reflection, which is the most noblest. Second, by imitation, which is easiest. And third, by experience, which Lakshmi, she just mentioned about in a previous session, which is the most bitterest amongst all." So yes, without further ado, I'll once again request all my panelists to be as crisp on their timings, because we'll try to keep our rounds and also our rapid fire more, so that you all can have more content and more time given to your own self over there. So once again, I welcome Dr. Abirami Vivek, Ms. Vindi Pujari, Dr. Seema Negi, and Ms. Sumita, Malik. So my very first question to you, ma'am, is how does early childhood education contribute to mitigating the learning crisis, and what innovative approaches are being taken in this regard at your school at Shiv Nader? If you could please throw some light on this.
Yeah, good morning, and I hope we are not going to be sleeping now. We're going to be listening to a lot of overload of discussions.
So you all can sleep, but please don't snore.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get conscious then. We all know, as being the educators of early childhood, how important it is. A lot of skills, what we know, we all need in life, are developed in these early years. So it is a very, very important stage of life what we are dealing with. And when we talk about this stage of life, this is the bedrock of the entire learning journey for any individual. So hence it's very important for us to begin with the end in mind. And when I say end in mind, we know that the child is going to be in this world where the child has to collaborate, the child will have to think critically, the child will have to be innovative enough and do a lot of different kind of things which are the 21st century skills. So why not bring that in the curriculum? Why not think about bringing all these aspects in the curriculum? And while we are doing all of this, We also, train our teachers to do all of that. But do we measure the impact of that training with our teachers? At times we fall short of doing that. So when we talk about Shivnader's school, we are very, very focused on continuous professional development of teachers. And what we also do is that when we are looking at that development, we are constantly looking at measuring the impact of the learning which has happened with the educators. And it is not to penalize any teacher, but to support, because that's very important. Also what we do is we look at the developmental milestones of our children. Like we were just in the previous session hearing that there is a lot of pressure on children, and are we wanting the child to do what the child has to do in grade 10 now? So it's very important for us to align our curriculum to the developmental milestone, and that's something what we also do. And we look at partnering with parents, because all stakeholders coming together in a child's learning journey is very important. And we've seen globally as well, when the home and the school come together in the child's learning journey, the child is blooming in a better way, is learning in a better way, and is a happy child as well. So we do a lot of sessions for our parents as well. We do coffee meets, we share with our parents what we do, how we do, and why we do what we do as a pedagogy. And we also have economically weaker section children. So we also support those parents as well. So there is a lot of work when we look at partnering with the children and the parents and the community. We do that. And when we talk about children and the objective of learning, we certainly look at grouping them as per their age appropriate level as well. I'm not going to be taking more time, so thank you. I hope I've answered your question.
So thank you very much. So it's very nice that you mentioned about the 21st century skills. You spoke about curriculum, and you also spoke about CPD as well. So year 2020-21, when we all met at DIDIC, I think most of us were there at DIDIC on 26th of September. If you all can please give me a show of hands. So year 2020, the training budget which was allocated for teachers in our country was approximately around 11,500 crores. But the surprising fact now comes is barely the only amount, so all the education policies until today, they have been talking about allocating and absolutely dedicating almost 6% of our GDP towards education. However, till date, only 4% has been marginally utilized for the same thing. When I mentioned about DIDAC, and we spoke about teacher training also with a couple of our folks from Germany and Finland over there. So technically in our country, barely only 1,200 crores were actually utilized out of those 11,500 crores which was absolutely dedicated for the same thing. So technically speaking, we don't just need to work on one nation, but we have to work on 135 crore Indians in over 750 districts, in over 4,000 cities, in 6.5 lakh villages, 250,000 gram panchayats, 28 states, 8 union territories, and this surely is a planning which is required to be done at a humongous level. So my next question to you, ma'am, Dr. Abirami. So she's a wonderful psychologist, and she's also representing Magden Finance. In fact, she's the soul of the company. So what are the education models that could be developed and adapted to address the unique challenges faced by children, especially from the downtrodden part of the society, from those marginalized and disadvantaged backgrounds?
Good morning. Thank you for this wonderful question. And I feel very relevant that I am answering this question, as I'm a resource person for the Tamil Nadu government for training the Anganwadi CDPOs. So in collaboration with ICDS, there's a lot of training programs that were conducted. So in that I have met a lot of CDPOs under whom each CDPO has at least 25-30 centers. If you see in Tamil Nadu, there are about 54,389 Anganwadis are there. But in fact, if you see, most of them are not really equipped very well. So when the training started happening in the initial, stages, there were a lot of complaints. about the parents and then the equipments and all that. But providing equipments and so we figured out something like, we will use the available resources and then do a play-based learning. So slowly, initially the CDPers were not convinced about it, but then eventually when we practiced it over months, and then we gave training even to the teachers. In some cases where even the, only the nannies would be there. There won't be any teachers or caretakers. It is only the nannies where they have to cook, they have to take care, they have to feed, they have to clean everything, one-man show in most of the cases. At least 20-25 children will be there in good centers. So what we did is, we tried to make that place equipped with some basic play-based learning, so that is made very useful. That was very easier. And another thing what we can do is integrating technology with the CDPOs, like the people who are there in that, or the people who are taking care of them. From time to time we started giving feedbacks and trainings, their queries, which really helped. And we also connected with the parents of those children. That was also very useful. And another way what we tried doing it, community-based learning. So that way it was very useful for the parents also, where they were also engaged in the sessions. They were also taught what is that is happening with the child. So it was very useful for them. And along with this, as I told, the training to the teachers, upskilling or keeping them up to date with the technology, even though if they don't have the materials for the learning equipments, they were able to do it with simple techniques. And these things can be done with simple trainings from other NGOs who can support, the private people who can support and do it. Eventually it will become a very big success for them, and typically I've seen a marginal success in that.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that was very relevant. In fact, the point that you also mentioned about Anganwadis in India, again, year 2020, just a couple of days before the pandemic. Azilia is well worthy about it. If Lucky is also around? Yes, my friend. So we were the first one in the country, technically speaking, under the Pune territory, Pune PCMC region. So when you spoke about collaborative learning and you spoke about getting all these people together in the ecosystem. So we were the first ones collectively to do this thought together, India's first Teachers Tinkering Fest. And as a policy, we came up with this thought that not only private school teachers, but Anganwadi workers, Balwadi workers should also be a part of this. Rita ma'am was a key witness to this thing. Swati ma'am couldn't make it during that time because of some personal commitments. However, she was there, and the amount of information, the amount of knowledge sharing. So Dr. Madan is also here. He's from Symbiosis International School, and he again is a key evangelist for the theory of knowledge, which is one of the most important subjects in IB boards. So we often talk about epistemology, right, sir? The fact here now is, we always feel that we have the best policies, we have the best learning models, we have the best curriculum in play. But there are certain times we something called as frugal engineering and jugaad. What we have and what we come. We spoke about in the last experiential learning pattern, we spoke about the limited resources. This is like luxury, technically speaking. But for them, they go play in the mud, they go with whatever resources they have available for them. And they were the ones who were coming up with the most thoughtful suggestions during those 2 days of workshop. I'm sure you all would agree on this. Again, it's not a problem about just addressing, because we should also be proud about the fact that where we were back in the year 1947 and where we are today is really significant. We have really seen this needle move from left to right. Year 1947, our literacy rate was barely 16% for men and 9% for women. We've come a far way. 2023, our literacy rate for men is 70% and our literacy rate of women is 64% respectively. So yes, we really need to put in a large amount of consideration, because we really don't need to work on just one project, one NEP, one organization which is EC or APER. We actually need to work on those 15 lakh registered schools in our country. We really need to work on over 25 crore students in our country. We really need to put in an effort on over 80 lakh teachers of our nation, over 14 lakh Anganwadis. Mind it, in our nation, we have 1,08,017 single teacher schools. Mind it, one teacher running the whole show. Isn't that something really worrying all of us? And even worrying is, grades 1 to 5, around 85,743 are absolutely run at pre-primary level. So these are those alarming figures which we really need to work on. Taking into ECA, APER and ScooNews standalone today, architects and key opinion leaders and influencers sitting in this auditorium, we are collectively responsible for over 40 lakh students precisely from this auditorium and the message which is going to go out today. So yes, moving forward, I think these are some statistics which you all can sink in, because what happens is at times when we go to conferences, we get some information. But data is something which can be remembered, data is something which could be kept along with us, and that is something which could be helping us worry even further. Alright? So yes, my friend who is here again from Pune, Miss Vindi Pujari, she's also pursuing her PhD in early years in Indian knowledge systems. So since you are a practicing student at this point in time of the IKS, which is also beautifully drafted in our NEP, the Kadambari is also talking, I'll also come to that in a couple of seconds. So how do you think we can amalgamate some hidden treasures from the Indian knowledge mines and make learning an exclusively rich experience?
Okay. We've all been through the draft NCF, NEP 2020. Like we all say, knowledge is at the tip of our fingers, right? So I'm not going to disseminate any knowledge over here. What I can tell you is simple things, what we can introduce, which I've already introduced in our preschool at the playgroup level, is this language, Sanskrit. There is a scientist, neuroscientist by the name of Dr. James Hartswell, who conducted experiments on the brains of children. MRIs were conducted for children who repeatedly did Sanskrit shlokas, over a period of time. When the MRI showed the grey cell matter of the brains of these children, had widened, and the cognitive skills had become even more better than what they were before reciting Sanskrit shlokas. So if we as preschool teachers, principals, stakeholders can implement Sanskrit as a part of your curriculum as early as a playgroup level, you can see what kind of changes it will make. And we've experienced that. Since 2017, we've introduced Sanskrit as a part of our curriculum. We have our own booklet for children from 2 to 8 years. There's a proper curriculum for them. So you see the children develop this, which again I told you, there's an experiment which is conducted, and it does give a positive effect. So this is one thing. The other thing is the attention span of the children now is very less. Toddlers have an attention span of 4 to 6 minutes, nothing more than that. So how do you keep them engaged? We've all had this punishment meted out, the uttak baitak, during our school years. Yeah? You know what's it called? It's called the super brain yoga in America now. It was a part of our culture. So we don't make it as a punishment. We do it as a daily routine. Say, yeah, this is a part of yoga. You hold your earlobes and you go up and down. You know what happens in this? The attention span of a child increases. See, there are simple techniques which we do. You don't need to spend any money. You don't need to go through the internet, how it's to be done and all. Everything is done by us in our school. So the simple therapy is used for children in America, children who have ADHD syndrome. So what is ADHD? We all know that, right? Deficiency of attention. So when we do this over a period of time, the child's attentive span increases. So these are two simple things. Then stories from Panchatantra, Mahabharata. Then you have our Hitopadesha. All these stories teach about daily living. Isn't it? We've grown through all these stories. So when we start implementing these stories in our daily school, daily curriculum, you start instilling your values, you start instilling principles, you start developing the AQ quotient of a child. Ma'am just talked about, children slitting their hands, slitting their wrists as young as 6th graders. So where do we start instilling reticence and your AQ quotient as early as 2-year-old? 2-year-old children also can be started. We can start this in our school curriculum, where when they grow older, they will know it is not about you, it is not about me, it is not about me proving anything to you. Our scriptures say, whatever energies we give out to the universe. And you give out, it comes back to you. So you don't need to prove anybody anything. So when this fact is ingrown in a child as young as 2 years, I'm sure we'll not have suicide. We will not have so many suicide numbers that we have now. So these little simple things is a takeaway for you all. Start doing it in your school. And everything else is on the tip of your fingers. Knowledge is on your mobile.
Thank you so much, Vindi. And as you rightly spoke about the Indian knowledge system, you spoke about ADHD, and you also spoke about Sanskrit as being the dominant language in our syllabus. So we often talk about all our legends, and we often talk about certain things. So we have been talking and discussing about scholars like Abraham Maslow, Benjamin Bloom, Carol Dweck, Erik Erikson, Frederick Frobel, Gijubai Badeka, James Heckman, Howard Gardner, Jeremy Bruner, Lawrence Kohlberg, Lev Vygotsky, Mario Montessori, Piaget, Reggio Emilia, Rabindranath Tagore, Tarabai Modak, Rudolf Steiner. But these are all names which we have been otherwise also following. After a lot of research, after a lot of data points collected, and after a research conducted across schools and colleges and universities, if you all have really enjoyed reading the beautiful document NEP 2020, it also talks about Kadambari. How many of you all have heard about the Chausashti Kalas and the 14 Vidyas? Brilliant. So, Bar Bhatt and Bhushan Bhatt, 7th century scholars, they authored this and they came up with Kadambari. So they said every person before they die, they should actually read a Kadambari. They should read the Chausashti Kalas and the 14 Vidyas, which is nothing but the 64 forms of art and the 14 branches of knowledge, which talks about the Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Atharva Veda, Yajur Veda, and most importantly, it also talks about why is it called Chausashti Kala. There's a reason behind this. So Sri Krishna, Balram, and along with their best friend, Rishi Sudama, at Rishi Sandeepani's ashram when they were there during those era, they completed, Krishna and Balram and Sudama, they completed this entire Chausashti Kalas in precisely 64 days. Ideally during those days, it took 2.5 years to complete one Kala. Today, even one lifetime is not enough. We are talking about 21st century skills. Ma'am, you mentioned about that, and you also spoke about that, Vindi. But the reality is, Kadambari is already there. If we really keep a copy of Kadambari, have a translated version of Kadambari in all our respective libraries, and start talking about these things from early years onwards, trust me, they would know as good as how to serve water when some guest comes in, and how to even get your bed done when you go off to sleep. So there are these small interesting things which Kadambari is talking about. Please have some time and get some teachers, get some subject matter experts. And Vindi is already a Pandit. Pujari, her name is Vindi Pujari. So we can get some lot of scholars from the industry and get all this work done as well. Moving forward, and we'll take some rapid fire after this because I think it gets too much of data driven at some point. So my next question to a very good friend from Mumbai, she's also the territory head for Early Childhood Association for Malad-Bhyander, and she's one of the most veteran principals in the Mumbai circuit and at India level. I think she alone has a record of doing more than 200 plus panel discussions during the pandemic, an active Rotary member and a phenomenal leader. So Chief, my question to you once again is, you have been an evangelist of change, and I think you never take a break. I think as a policy, as a practice, that's what I've known and understood about you. The nervous system of education lies in the hands of every teacher. What is that impact of COVID-19, which you personally has come and is actually seen on educators? And what is the impact of COVID-19 on the children's overall education practices?
So I think before we move ahead, you spoke about Chausat Kala, okay? My open invitation to everyone, come to our school and you will see Chausat Kala and Chauda Vidya displayed, okay? Our annual day theme for this year is Chausat Kala. In my school, Bhagavad Gita is taught from playgroup. Wow. That is what we started from COVID, you know, and it was not just to parents or to students, to teachers also. Now, the first adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita speaks about preparation for war, right? So, dhol, nagade, sab baj rahe the, it was for preparation for war. So, what were we doing during pandemic? We were getting ready for a better tomorrow. We all were working together for it. My grade 10 students were getting ready for their board examination. My parents were getting ready for sending the children back to school. So all 18 adhyayas of Bhagavad Gita, suppose you are not able to teach all the shlokas, pick up one shloka from each adhyaya and you will find out how beautiful the curriculum can become. So we all in our school, as a practice during pandemic, post-pandemic, the practice are Gyan Mudra and Dhyan Mudra. The moment one teacher goes out and second teacher comes. Circle time is over, let's sit in Gyan Mudra before teacher get ready for something else, okay? And everything starts from playgroup. How we could do it? Simple methodology. We all are principals and leaders here, right? First and foremost thing is, are we keeping our teachers happy? I just believe in simple thing, I need to keep my teachers happy. They just have one work, keep the students happy. Happy student equates to happy parents. Happy parents equates to happy schools. So we started in 2018 with 364 students. Today we are proud to say we are 1717 students. You know, 2 years of pandemic, new school. And how it happened? Only and only because of collaboration. So what we did during pandemic and post that, yes, we all have regular PTNs like other schools have, but those PTNs are known as Gratitude Expression Day, wherein the teacher expressed the gratitude that I am so proud to have you as a parent of my child. So beautifully you have prepared your child for this, whatever. And at the same time, parents express the gratitude to teachers. And after that, they say, okay, these are the areas, let's work together. That is one thing. Second thing is we do not have anything called report card day or progress card day. It is Achievement Day. Everybody is an achiever. So Achievers Day. Everybody achieves the milestone of that particular class. Here, either it's teacher or parent or counselor, everybody's role is important. We ensure that yes, differentiated learning is taking place, but everybody has achieved the milestone and we celebrate that achievement. And we have something called Direct Dil Se Dil Tak, which again started during pandemic, where we started having one-to-one session with parents. We do not discuss about academics. We do not discuss about that. A child is much more than academics. There are so many things that we have to talk about when we talk about child. Last but not the least, we don't give feedback. We give feed forward. Feed forward is like the sandwich, right?
I think that's
the bottom layer.
Feed forward is something, it's a new word for everybody.
So the bottom layer is what you are telling all the positive things about the child. The filling is whatever areas of improvement or collaboration that you're looking for. And the topmost layer is how do we take it forward? And if we do that, trust me, this entire collaboration and ecosystem resonate with your belief. So I will just ask you a quick question. How many of you think that morning walk is very simple and easy? Is morning walk, we all are health free?
We have
yes,
to
yes. So is morning walk simple?
Yes.
Simple? Yes. But if it is simple, are we all doing it?
Yes.
So that means it is not easy, right? So if any one of you feel that dealing with toddlers, pre-primary group or the foundational year group is simple, it might sound simple, but that is the most difficult area. And kudos to ECA and APER, because if you can, see, I'm telling you with my experience, I have taught right from nursery to grade 12. Teaching grade 12 is much more simpler than going to a nursery class. And if we can instill the right spirit there, art of questioning and curiosity, it's the why which has given us technology and not answer. So please instill art of curiosity and art of questioning. If we can do that, we are preparing a generation of learner. Last point, ऋग्वेद में कहा है मनुर्भाव। मनुर्भाव का मतलब है इंसान बनाना। तो अगर हम 5000 सालों के पहले से कह रहे हैं कि हमें इंसान बनाना है, शिक्षा का उद्देश्य है इंसान बनाना. If we can start doing that right from the elementary year, trust me, we don't have to worry about our tomorrow. So to make our tomorrow better, let's make their today better.
So true. I think Sakshata and Sankhyamukta is the best thing to summarize what you said. You also spoke about achievement days in your school.
Achievers Day.
Achievers Day, sorry. So I'm sure all of you all know about David McCland. David McCland has written theory of motivation and theory of needs basically. So he says all of us in life, we only work for three things. None of us work here for money. So that's the false illusion which all of us have. So we either work for, there's something called as need for power. There is something called as need for achievement, which you are doing it already. And there is something called as need for affiliation. So whenever a child at 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old age groups, when they are playing games like Candy Crush Saga or a Subway Surfer, what is the psychology that's driving these kids? It's need for achievement. Yes, I did it. He's not getting paid for it. if a job, if there are, there are very few men over here, so I think last few men standing over here. Hi sir.
We identify ourselves as men.
Just made the right entrance. Legends just know when to make an entrance.
No, entry nahi hai, we are men. We assert our right to do so.
So usually what happens is when somebody breaks a signal, others also follow. It's need for power. Kaun dekhega mujhe? When somebody is trying to wear a striped shirt in his office, others would also follow. If somebody is wearing cufflinks, others would also follow in the same office, because it's need for affiliation. When we talk about need for power, give respect to all the politicians in the country. It's all power hungry. Why do we need? We need to get going forward. So need for power, need for affiliation, need for achievement. And I think David McLean has done a phenomenal job in explaining this to all of us. There are certain worrying figures which are also there. So I think we'll just take a rapid fire. So let's say if we were to select, and all of you all please raise your hands for this, and including my dear fellow panelists, if we were to choose and elect an education minister in our country, should only principals and teachers be allowed to stand for those positions? Could you please raise your hands?
They should be banned. They should be banned.
We are dogmatic.
We would love to take your views, sir.
They are very simple. We would rather...
Somebody can please give sir a mic.
No, you can hear me. I think my voice is loud.
Yes, loud and clear.
If I am here, blame him. Because he asked me to come. And yes, so it's here. Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Colonel Shekhar. By mistake, I am the principal of Hyderabad Public School, Kadapa. The question is, do you want an educator or an education minister who gets into the weeds? How many periods, what you want? Or do you want a visionary? Kamaraj never went to school that way. Kasturba Lalbhai never went to a college. He founded IIM, he was the first chairman of IIT Delhi. And also, man along with Vikram Sarabhai was his adopted son. So do you require somebody who claims himself to be an educationist, or she? He is a wrong term. India is ruled by women. So that's the first point. Second is, do you require somebody to get into the weeds rather than give the big picture, the view from a helicopter? I would certainly believe that in the present way we think within our boxes. Can we think differently? So I certainly want a man who has seen, man or woman
Yes.
or transgender, who has seen life, understood life, and sees that I am not going to live for 100 years. What would education be required for India of 2047 and beyond? Thank you.
True. It's a wonderful point. I think huge round of applause for Sir One for making it for फिर से तोड़ फोड़ जोड़ आपने फिर से एक समा बना लिया है एक बार. Two more things what you mentioned about, sir. Of course, you're right at your point, but as we Indians are amazing in terms of agreeing to disagree. So once Narad Muni was asked by Brahma, okay, that Narad Muni just said, I want to become the Muni of all the Munis, Narad Muni. He said, भाई आप बैठ जाओ पहले, आप मुझे बताइए कि आपने क्या क्या किया है जिंदगी में. So we spoke about आपको experience चाहिए जिसने सब कुछ देखा है, उनको बनाना चाहिए, because it's a safe bet, technically speaking, or a safe gamble to have a teacher or a principal. Reason being why? Because when Narad Muni was appointed as the Muni of all the Munis, he was first asked, पहले आपको एक पति बनना पड़ेगा, एक बेटा बनना पड़ेगा, then again die, take a rebirth. आपको एक अच्छा सोशल का आपको सब काम करना पड़ेगा, फिर से you do that, we do the same thing. आपको अलग अलग 6 से 7 जन्म लेने होंगे, तब जाके आपको जिंदगी के तजुर्बे आएंगे, तब जाकर आप मुनियों के मुनि और लोगों को ज्ञान बांटोगे. In today's time we have amazing Gyanendrus around us, but the reality is it's just safe to have somebody, I feel, to have in that position of power sometimes. Yes sir.
Yes sir. Safety doesn't help. In today's world of AI and things moving away, we are living in the 21st century, not having a clue what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
True.
Right? 1. 2. We are not going to live to the 22nd century. Our children and students would. So we do not require paper pushers. We require visionaries who think beyond the normal. You can see that video of Arthur C. Clarke in 1964. He talks about schools without teachers 60 years from today. Issue number 1. Issue number 2, Narad Muni. First of all, Narad Muni becoming a husband itself, he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. The second point, which Ravi was there, Mahima is here. Ravi said, there have been 2 major events recently in my life. He talked about AI and he talked about COVID.
Yes.
But he missed one thing. His own marriage.
That's
an event by itself. Yeah, finally, I'm finished because I'm taking all the panelists' time. Some of them are my good friends. I've said this before, I'll say it again.
Sure.
A school in Delhi, this has happened. An air-conditioned school with all the money. 3 buses visit Najafgarh, the hometown of Virendra Sehwag. Same time, another school, 3 buses, Municipal Corporation of Delhi, they go in non-air-conditioned buses, go towards Najafgarh. On their way back, there is a storm. The vehicles stop 7-8 kilometers from their location. The MCD students listen to their teachers, get down, walk to their homes. They are home within an hour. The air-conditioned students, the parents do a dharna in front of the police commissioner's office. Which is the better school? Please think over it. There is much more to education than books or what we believe is our knowledge. And I'll end with that statement which I make often. There is somebody who is always made the Teacher of the Year in the US. And it was a retired New York captain of the New York police who became the first Teacher of the Year under Barack Obama. He was asked this question, what have you done in life? He said, I have saved 15 youngsters from drugs or committing suicide. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, sir, and we really love you. Thank you, sir. We also have a similar follow-up question for all of you because it's a part of your rapid fire, it's a fire of wisdom. Since we have already instigated this topic, so let's say if we start from you, Dr. Negi. If you were the education minister of our country, what is that one change which you would like to bring to the nation?
I think I should have given voice and choice to all the children in the school. And I would like to ask a follow-up question. What if you were made education minister, what you would have done?
Moderators ask questions, you answer.
So yes, to seek empathy in the power holder, if I were the education minister of our country, I'll make it a point that every minister's son, every minister's daughter, every minister's grandson, every minister's granddaughter, they only and only study in a municipal school or a Anganwadi or a Bangwadi.
You also add that they have to live in India forever.
AIMS does this already because
Yes, very good point.
Because unless and until you do not have their own blood and sweat in the system, they will not try to make changes in the system.
It's interesting. How many senior bureaucrats, ministers have their children doing school teaching and being a soldier?
Very.
So, none of them. Why? So that, Dr. Negi is, sorry for the language, a bloody problem.
Yes, and I'll add
We just
to
have
it,
5 minutes, sir, because you being here, I think it's itself is magic in the auditorium. So you also spoke about one more thing, because the theme of the topic is learning crisis.
Oh.
And the coin was primarily termed by the World Bank. Now the fun and the beauty here is, the job and the primary duty of World Bank is to sit with economists, not talk and worry about educators and worry about the learning crisis. And they have been talking about the measuring litmus scale from countries which are developed and worrying about giving statistics and data from countries like Nigeria, Nairobi, Ethiopia and Tanzania and all. So they cannot have the same litmus test and the same measuring bar in India as well.
Pranay, since Shekhar sir is there, Shekhar sir rightly said you and me, we are from defense background, so we understand. Yes, we want our children to go to defense, but how many teachers they want their children to become teacher? Let's start from the root level. We'll come to bureaucrat later.
See, there is an issue that the big problem is when you are leaders, and today in the armed forces, none of us senior leaders are having their sons and daughters in the armed forces. We have given them our choices. That is the first issue. Second, today nobody wants a posting to Defence Services Staff College, Wellington. They all want Hyderabad because the lady can work. No more Ava and the Nari. That's all preposterous nonsense. One. I just end before taking all your time. Learning crisis. Our students have gone from the ground floor to the third floor without seeing first and second floor. Issue one. Issue number two. 72 weeks of lockdown. The highest in the world. Three. India has got 320 million children, the population of US. The learning crisis will hit us by the year. Unless we intervene now, get after parents who say my child got 99 last year when there were no exams. Abhi 2-4 ko zero lagao. Give them that damn zero. Get their parents onto the ground. Tell them your child does not know basic mathematics. Let's get this sorted out before we go for fancy things. Are you recording this? I am. You are a dangerous lady. I will say one more thing. Let all of us get together, CBSE, ICSE, state boards. Cut down on mark inflation. We are making them Einsteins and everything.
Yes, so true, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Can I take one point?
Yes, I think ma'am has to say something. Would you need the mic, ma'am?
Oh yes, Sumita.
Pranay, you spoke about Pranay, you spoke about the government officers and the government officials putting their children in the KMC schools the municipal schools. I just want to give an example of what some individuals got together in Kolkata, and we have started a movement which is Kolkata We Care. And I'm very proud to say that almost 120 schools, principals, organizations, Rotary and many other organizations have joined together, and we in collaboration with Kolkata Municipal Committee, we are trying to upskill the KMC schools. So I think individuals need to come together. We don't need to wait for the government to do things. We have to take charge of this, and we have to do what we can.
We have to do that, great, but our mindsets. We all say...
Okay, go for the panel, please.
Yeah.
Continue with the panel.
Yeah.
Because it is the panel discussion. It's not the audience discussion.
Moving forward towards you, Vindi, if there is one piece of advice which you would like to give the 21-year-old you, so what are those learning crises?
My 21-year-old?
Yeah, the 21-year-old Vindi, if you were to give the same advice to your own self in terms of what are those drastic changes which you have seen in the education fraternity, in the education domain per se, then and now. And we can keep it to max 50 seconds.
Okay. The kind of, schooling which has been done a couple of years ago, we were whacked at any point of time. Do you remember that? Yes. Being whacked and beaten, and the fear which we had for teachers, which we have moved to a situation where you can't even widen your eyes to a child. Can you do that? We can't do that. The parent is offended. आपने कैसे हमारे बच्चे को ऐसे आग दिखाया, हाँ कि नहीं? Why did you even raise your voice for my child? I had a parent who came and fought with me because the child had whacked another child, and then the teacher reprimanded the child saying that you're not supposed to do this. That very statement sting the parent so badly that she made the teacher apologize. And the teacher, poor teacher, did that. And then I said, why did you have to do that? Because that's the right thing you did at that time, right? So now we are in an age where children are coming with big egos. Do we come across that? So if a 21-year-old me would want to bring about that change in education, yeah, I would want us to go back to that time where we were slightly whacked, right? I think we should go back to that time.
Yes, exactly.
Do you all agree with that?
Yes.
Not to give in to whatever your child says. The child is rolling on the floor and you say, okay, fine. The child goes to the father.
Yes.
and they're never on the same page. The mother and the father are never on the same page because they want to show their superiority and, oh, I'm earning so much. Mother is earning so much. I can give the child everything. And the child works with the emotions of the parents. We should learn to say no.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, learn to say no. We will bring about better, emotionally stable children.
Thank you, Vindi. I think it's important to say no when it's really required to be saying no. It's important to also make sure that we keep people's ego intact. Because today, a teacher would be a coordinator tomorrow. A coordinator would be a supervisor. A supervisor would be a principal tomorrow. Or someday, she could be your boss. She would just buy you up. So it's very important that in this whole process of learning crisis, we keep people's ego extremely intact.
One minute, Pranay. Just one little thing, the question which went to ma'am. You know what I would like to do? Increase the salaries of our teachers.
Yes.
At the corporation school level.
But for that you need some very strong
No ma'am, we've been to that level, I've worked with them.
Corporation salaries are much more than private
One
schools.
teacher with 60, 70 in a class, ma'am.
6th pay,
They need
7th
to have
pay.
2 teachers.
The amount of money which a teacher and their families pay to get a job in a government school is much higher because they get
But
security
they
over
don't
there.
recover that money.
They don't?
They don't recover that kind of money in the salaries.
Oh,
That is, their burnout rates are so high, ma'am.
I think
Burnout is so high.
Rita ma'am can throw a lot of light on this.
So the private schools should have better salaries? Okay, I'll do that. Point granted. Point taken into account.
They should be the they should be the best paid employees in every.
Especially preschool teachers, where you pay a piddly scale of 4,000, 5,000 bucks, 10,000 bucks. The kind of mental strain she's undergoing, you can't equate that to any kind of money you're paying her. Yeah?
Great. Thank you so much, Vindi. Moving forward towards Miss Sumita Malik. You are a champion at managing anxiety and you've done a lot of work in the same space at Shiv Nader as well. So when we talk about learning crisis and we talk about stress in terms of education and overall learning outcomes, anxiety plays a significant role, and we also know a fact that ma'am has also published a paper on anxiety management. So if you could please throw some light on that. And because we just have, I think we have almost
13 minutes.
30 odd minutes, so we try to keep our questions as minimum and let every panelist also have a word. Please ma'am, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Anxiety is something we all know that builds when the child is just out of the womb. And the environment, what the environment is giving to the child, and that's where the anxiety and the depression, what we see in adolescence, starts building in at that time. And that is why it's very, very important for us to see that not just as educators, but as adults, as parents, as adults in the child's life, what are we doing? Are we putting that kind of a pressure of performance to our children, whether it is through the assessment, through going on the stage and performing? Just imagine if you are standing on the stage, there is a lot happening inside you. Think about a 3-year-old. There is a lot of stress inside that child as well. Let it be so seamless so that the child is enjoying it. And that's what is most important. And when we look at assessment, if we really talk about that, when as educators, and we were talking about it in the morning as well, we put the learning objective and we say, okay, this is where the child has to reach. Why? Why can't we say that this is where the child is and let me celebrate that? Let us celebrate the stage of learning where the child is, and the child will move ahead for sure. Didn't we all move ahead? So I think that's what is very important. The environment needs to be very, very happy for the child, and we should be very conscious of the fact that these small little pressures what we put on our children, we should start reducing that, because we see the result of that when the child comes in adolescence. And also there's a research which says that even diabetes is a part of that anxiety. Yeah.
So we have, these days we have cholesterol buddies.
Yes.
We have diabetes buddies. We have blood pressure buddies. So I think it's about time we also take our hearts and our lives seriously, because there's so much to deal with and there's so much of change that we all need to bring in life. Moving forward towards you, ma'am, if you could just share some experience from your side, what are those different benchmark examples which you have seen in your ecosystem around you, in terms of those significant things in managing learning crisis?
Before moving on to this question, I would like to address, because something was very emotional to me when they spoke.
Please.
So, I don't know how many of you have studied Sanskrit. I feel I'm very blessed. From LKG, my kindergarten, I have studied only Sanskrit until my college. And that has really contributed quite a lot, and I have implemented that in our schools also. This I have requested the Anganwadi people also to execute, even though they don't get the words or something like that, very simple things. That is making a very big difference. Parents who are asking for, my child is not talking in English, they are very happy when the shlokas were recited and all that in Anganwadis. Basically people, most of them are not educated, that one thing. And when it comes to the second thing, 64, the number 64, I don't know, how am I associated with that and what is that? Why 64? Shausha Jogni, I along with my friend, I'm a part of a trust. We have actually documented the entire belt from Odisha to Delhi, the 64 Jogni temples, and we are researching on the 64 Kala. And what is the 64? There are a lot of things that are related to 64, but I am trying to do something with regard to 64, how can we implement in the early childhood education?
So we would love to go through that paper, ma'am. Once it's ready, please share it with us so that we can make it more.
In fact, we have made a documentary film and we have launched it in Counselling Festival, the trailer this year. So there's a big thing, only the remains are there of the temples across the the belt. I have travelled by road for about 23 days, and I've seen every part of it. None of the places are, but everywhere I only felt how can these things can be implemented into education. This tantric is taken in a very different way, but tantra is something which can be taken into education, which is very, very essential. That way I just really wanted to share with that. Coming back to your question, this is basically when I feel there is a baseline assessment that can be done. The teachers, the people whoever are associated with the early education, they can do a very basic. I really don't like the feedbacks or the academic progress, whatever it is. As she said, fast forward, like feed forward. So that will be very, very good. And for the teachers, yes, of course, it is not only when we say that we have this methodology or this new techniques or anything, but then how are they really effectively trained? Are we spending on the training the teachers or the people who are caregivers? It is not only the teachers, even the caregivers, I feel that they should be trained, they should be well equipped or well informed about what they are going to do. That way I think it will be better.
Great. Thank you so much, ma'am. Moving forward towards Dr. Negi, if you also spoke about the Gyan Mudra and the Dhyan Mudra, which you're already doing at this point in time, because these are small things. It's like a gut resetting thing to make sure that your learning begins systematically and in a more structured way as soon as you enter the school. So a lot of schools, they have these practices of getting into Dhyan, getting into yogas, getting into peace meditation. So what is that one practice, maybe if we can just keep it to one, if you would love to share, which could be a takeaway for everybody sitting in this auditorium, which is unique, which is tried, tested, and could be a benchmark thing for everybody.
So for me, that is something called Principal Ki Pathshala. That is my period in every class, right from nursery to playgroup to everyone. How many of us, being the school leaders, really go and sit with our children? It is very important. My room's doors are always open for my pre-primary children. I know the name of each and every child. I stand on the gate and greet them every morning, irrespective of anything and everything. So they are the one who can come to me and ask whatever they want to ask. Again, I'm telling you, we are killing the curiosity by not answering their question. I just have 5 A's to give to everyone very quickly. One is adapt. We need to adapt. Then we can become the role model for our children to adapt. My second A is ask. Please let the children ask. It was Arjuna's ask which led to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. My third A is ancient to advance. We need to take from ancient practice and go to AI or any other advanced technology that comes. Last is abundance. Can we really thank for the abundance of opportunity that we have? Here in this room, if we are 100 and more than 100 educators, 100 educators can bring the change. Can we really bring the change rather than just discussing? That is what we need to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You spoke about adapt, ask, ancient to advance, and also about abundance. So we also coined another term a couple of years ago at DIDAC. It was ask. Keep asking. Keep asking. And the acronym was attitude, skill, and knowledge. ASK. Whenever you are in doubt, keep asking. Ask. So you can have the right skills, you can have the right knowledge, but the pyramid of this entire thing is attitude. If it's not kept right, trust me, keep asking. Moving forward towards you, ma'am, at Shiv, if there is one practice which you would love to share, like ma'am mentioned about Principal Ki Pathshala, and I think we are just left with 3 odd minutes, ma'am, or 5. You try to be on time, like Guru Kant Desai from the movie Guru. Yes, ma'am, please.
So there are a few. Can I say 2? If that's
Please,
okay?
ma'am.
Thank
If
you.
you can be, if just read
Well,
those
I'll be
speeches
very quick. I'll be very quick. So when we talk about partnering with parents, we do sessions for our neighborhood parents also. Neighborhood is the economically weaker section. We don't call them economically weaker section because the nomenclature what we use in a school when the child goes back home, a circle time, a parent who's not been to school will not understand what circle time is. So it's very important for us to have those sessions with the parents to make them understand everything what we are doing with our children, and we empower those parents because we felt somewhere the parenting of those parents was taking a backseat once they started thinking, oh, my child is going to a bigger school, so let the child do what the child is doing. Hence, this is very important for us to empower those parents. This is one. Second is, when we are talking about children and looking at the curriculum as per the child's level, we have started a program called as AHA Language, where we have the entire form of, say supposing grade 2 children, during their language classes, they all will go into the other 5 sections as per their learning level and they enjoy it. And that's how they are able to, and the objective is the same. But it is basically differentiation and at their own level. So that's something which is really happening well.
So it's a moment of aha.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. And moving forward towards you, Vindi, finally, if you could please share only one practice which is there something really significant.
Yeah.
And if you could just try to amalgamate that with the Indian knowledge system. So I think that because you're a practicing student, pursuing your PhD, so I think it would be a great help.
I guess I've touched on many things. A lot of indigenous Indian games can be implemented, like the Thopakam, which is Uttak Baitak, which I already said. Then the other one is Tipri Pani. We've all played that. That increases your, ability, physical ability. It haunts that skill of a child. So a lot of indigenous Indian games are there which we can implement in our curriculum. But one little thing which is away from IKS is which we have started doing in my school as a preschool students from 2 years to 6 years. We give them, the moment they enter the classroom, we give them half an hour of free play. You know why? Because a child is coming out of an environment, coming into our school from an environment where the child is pushed and woken up, get up, come, sit on the potty, come, eat your breakfast, have finished this, have your milk, finish. The child is stressed by the time the child is coming into your classroom. And then what do? Again, nahi, circle time karo. It's a structured environment you're putting the child into. So what we've started is, half an hour of free play. And at that time, my teachers do yoga and meditation. There's a separate class for them. So we make the child stress-free, the teacher is stress-free, and then your class starts after half an hour. So this we can try, right, at our level?
Certainly, yes. Thank you so much, Vindi. And we do have time? 3 minutes? 2 minutes? Brilliant. So we won't take, I think we'll move towards the final segment. Thank you so much, everyone. And as we move forward towards the last segment, we started with one, but we'll go towards 2 quotes. Every time we often talk about looking at the woods. Every time we are often talking about looking at the trees. But it is time, my dear friends, we actually start looking at the forest. We make our children stand up on our shoulders and make them see the larger beauty of the forest. We started with one quote and we spoke about Confucius. It's a beautiful quote by Nobel Prize winner Sir Dalai Lama. He said, our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help others, at least don't hurt them. And since the majority of educators and leaders of knowledge, and not just influencers but key opinion leaders sitting in this auditorium are women, there's a quote dedicated to all of you. It's a quote which is by the youngest Nobel laureate on earth, who's barely 900 kilometers away from Clark's Amer, Jaipur. Yes, you must have guessed it right. She's none other than Malala Yousafzai from Pakistan. She says, "My mother always told me, hide your face, people are looking at you." I would reply, it does not matter. I am also looking at them. Education is education. We should learn everything and then choose which path to follow. Education is neither Eastern, education is neither Western. It is human. That's what Malala says. And if we do everything the way it is supposed to be done, I can say
selfishness, so please start taking care of yourself. My second C is connect. You have entire advisory board and national committee member of ECA APER here, so please get connected. Third C is community. We all belong to a community here. We belong to the community of educators and people who are dealing with foundational year. So please get connected. One way of getting connection is become a member and get the massive benefit that you will get, which I usually get and I take it to my school. And last C is culture. If you do not know where you are coming from, you will never know where you have to go. And trust me, ECA and APER will take you back to our roots and also take you to the world which is waiting for all of us. Thank you so much.